Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal 153 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin put away the star compass and stepped into planet Ran Yune. At the moment he entered the atmosphere, a flash of coldness appeared in his eyes. When he was outside, he noticed that the planet was in ruins. Waves of celestial spiritual energy were echoing in the area. It was clear that a great battle had just occurred here. He took a deep breath. His divine sense had already seen Liu Mai's figure in the southern part of planet Ran Yune. Liu Mai's appearance had changed somewhat. It could be said that she looked even more stunning than before. Frowning slightly, Wang Lin took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was in the southern part of the planet, only 1,000 feet from Liu Mai. Liu Mai stared at the figure that appeared 1,000 feet from her, and the mysterious light in her eyes became even stronger. She had noticed him when he was approaching the planet. She felt that he was vaguely familiar, but his appearance was completely foreign to her. She didn't speak. Instead, she silently looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at Liu Mai and calmly said, "You have already killed them. You can leave." He came here wondering why Liu Mai was at the southern part of the planet. When he spread out his divine sense, he immediately saw Sun Shi's clone. After pondering for a bit, he was able to understand what had happened. Since the three of them had lied to him about the clones, then there was no need for him to stick his neck out for them anymore. As long as he tried his best, it was enough. In addition, what made Wang Lin's heart sink was that this Liu Mai's cultivation had already reached the peak of the late stage of ascendant. This kind of cultivation caused Wang Lin's pupils to shrink imperceptibly. How could this Liu Mai's cultivation have reached such a level? Could it be related to the Huan family's ancestor? It must be so. Wang Lin's gaze swept Liu Mai's body and revealed a hint of clarity. There is still some celestial spiritual energy around her. I assume someone has forcibly raised her cultivation level. However, this kind of forced raise in cultivation is only in celestial spiritual energy. It's be impossible for her domain to have reached the same step. Liu Mai stared at Wang Lin and softly said, "Have we met before?" Wang Lin calmly said, "No." Liu Mai looked at Wang Lin for a long time before she revealed a smile that was like the spring wind. However, what it got in return was Wang Lin's always calm as water gaze. "Enough. Leave now before I change my mind." Wang Lin's voice turned cold. This smile of hers disgusted him a lot. Back on planet Suzaku she was like this as well. Liu Mai's eyes exposed a trace of complex emotion and she softly said, "I didn't expect your cultivation to have already reached such an incredible degree. Even I can't see through it." Wang Lin frowned and coldly looked at Liu Mai before turning around to leave. Since the three people on planet Ran Yune had lied about their clones, there was no need for him to continue to participate in this matter. "Wang Lin, do you really think I can't recognize you?" Liu Mai's voice contained a trace of coldness. Wang Lin stopped and turned around. Then his eyes turned cold and he said, "There is no need to test me. I'm Wang Lin. If you continue to bug me like back on planet Suzaku, then don't blame me for killing you." Currently, the inside of Liu Mai's heart was very different from her appearance. Right now her heart was in turmoil. She could have never imagined that she would meet Wang Lin in the All-Heaven star system, and his cultivation was even strong enough to the point where she couldn't see through him. Scenes from the past suddenly flashed across her eyes. As she stared at Wang Lin, the complex emotions in her eyes became even stronger, and she softly said, "Aside from you, no one else has such a cold gaze. You changed your appearance, changed your everything, but you can't change your gaze. I'm afraid you changed yourself because you don't want me to recognize you." Wang Lin frowned as he coldly looked at Liu Mai and said, "I'll say it once more, scram." Liu Mai revealed a beautiful smile, then the complex emotion in her eyes disappeared. Instead, it was replaced with indifference, and she gently said, "Your cultivation level is definitely not higher than mine. You must have some kind of treasure that can hide your cultivation. Today, you will not be leaving." There was a burst of wind and the finger of death shot out. Liu Mai's expression remained neutral as her jade hand quickly formed a seal and a spell appeared. A light screen appeared before her as the finger of death collided, causing a loud rumble. Lightning flickered everywhere and countless cracks appeared on the light screen. Liu Mai shook her head and softly said, "I didn't guess wrong. Your cultivation is only at the early stage of ascendant." Wang Lin's voice was filled with indifference as he slowly said, "A cultivation risen by force has too many drawbacks. I'm afraid your master has other motives." Liu Mai faintly smiled and said, "So what? Today, you won't be able to escape. If you hadn't reached the ascendant stage, then it wouldn't have mattered, but since you did, let us finish our feud from planet Suzaku. Let me send you to reunite with Li Muwen. You're courting death." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the 7-star sword formation immediately flew out. It turned into 7 rays of light and flew straight at Liu Mai. With a neutral expression, Liu Mai pointed to the spot between her eyebrows with her jade hand, then a ray of red light came out from between her eyebrows. The red light suddenly wrapped around her body and turned into the appearance of a woman. This woman was very arrogant, her eyes were fierce, and she was beautiful. A pair of phoenix eyes looked at Wang Lin with killing intent. Red butterfly. Wang Lin's eyes released a burst of golden light. This woman was Red Butterfly. Red Butterfly stared at Wang Lin and calmly said, "Our feud needs to be dealt with as well." With that, she slapped her bag of holding and a red rose appeared. She threw it forward and all the petals scattered. The petals floated toward Wang Lin with a mysterious force. What kind of spell is this? Wang Lin's pupils shrank imperceptibly. The Liu Mai before him suddenly turned into Red Butterfly. Thanks to Wang Lin's divine sense, he confirmed that this was the real Red Butterfly without any of Liu Mai's aura. Facing the petals, Wang Lin's right hand forced a seal, and with a thought, the 7-star sword formation closed in. The 7 swords formed a circle and rapidly rotated, creating a powerful sword wind that crushed the flower petals. The arrogance in Red Butterfly's eyes became even stronger as she flicked her finger and the flower's stamen flew out. Her left hand pointed a few times, then the flower stamen suddenly combined to form a rune. She pressed down her hand, causing the rune to immediately fly out. The rune continued to expand until it was more than 1,000 feet wide and pressed down on Wang Lin like a giant mountain. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he raised his hand and pointed at the sky. A thunderbolt flashed across the sky as a long underworld river suddenly appeared and crushed the rune. The underworld river was filled with bloodlust. Under Wang Lin's control, the underworld river moved like a roaring dragon and immediately surrounded Red Butterfly. It was about to pull her entire body into the underworld river. Red Butterfly's eyes shined brightly and she calmly said, "Dao intent. You actually have your own Dao." Wang Lin let out a cold snort. As the underworld river moved, the sky darkened. There were flashes of lightning inside the underworld river, making it even more powerful. Red Butterfly felt a sense of crisis as her right hand pointed between her eyebrows once more. This time, a yellow light surrounded her body, and when it disappeared, it revealed a small and thin figure. "Uncle." That word contained a mysterious power that caused Wang Lin's underworld river to suddenly pause. "Ju are you?" That small figure was Ju are you. She timidly looked at Wang Lin with her eyes wide open and her face filled with terror. "Uncle, I finally found you. Please don't abandon me, okay?" Wang Lin's eyes revealed a painful expression and he shouted, "Enough, Liu Mai." The underworld river churned and Ju are you was immediately pulled into it. Ju are you's eyes were filled with fear and confusion as he looked at Wang Lin. A tear came out from her eyes and she softly said, "Uncle, are you going to kill Are you? This is fake." Wang Lin took a deep breath and his heart became determined. The underworld river went for the kill and rushed into Ju are you's body. It was about to completely submerge her. Just at this moment, a low and weak voice echoed. "Taiju." This voice was like a bell echoing inside Wang Lin's body. He saw the mother that he had been separated from for 800 years looking kindly at him from inside the underworld river. Wang Lin's heart trembled. His hand trembled, then the underworld river collapsed and disappeared into nothingness. "This is also fake." Wang Lin's eyes glowed red. "Fake. Wang Lin, thanks to my 10,000 illusion heavenly devil Dao, they are both fake and real." Liu Mai's voice was illusionary and came from all direction. Ju Are You and Red Butterfly appeared from the void. At the same time, Wang Lin's father appeared and looked at Wang Lin with a gentle gaze. Wang Lin, do you still remember me? Wang Zhuo walked out from the void. He was no longer an old man but a high-spirited youth. Disciple, you have to remember to pass on the legacy of the soul-refining sect. Du Tian's ancient figure walked out from the void. Shortly after, figures familiar to Wang Lin walked out one by one. Each of them silently looked at Wang Lin. Their gazes were all different, some complex, some filled with loss, some filled with joy, some filled with sadness. A flash of blue light appeared in the sky and turned into a woman. This woman was Li Muwen. Li Muwen looked at Wang Lin with a gentle gaze and softly said, Wang Lin, am I also fake? She stood beside Wang Lin's mother. It was as if they were mother and daughter as they calmly looked at Wang Lin. 10,000 Illusion Heavenly Devil Dao. Wang Lin looked at the familiar figures before him and his eyes revealed pain. He closed his eyes and softly said, the 10,000 Illusion Heavenly Devil Dao is like the heavenly devil. It invades the body and ignites one's origin soul to burn the mind and body. Liu Mai, how much hatred is there between us for you to collect so much of my past? Every figure around him suddenly turned into green smoke and rushed into Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin opened his eyes, but they were filled with clarity. Although they were still filled with pain, it was as if he had seen through the world. It was truth that he had learned before. He should let go of those that were meant to disappear. He raised his right hand and a strand of mist appeared over it. This mist was all the smoke that had entered his body. His origin soul contained part of the ancient thunder dragon, so it contained the power of the heavenly thunder. This 10,000 Illusion Heavenly Devil Dao wasn't enough to cause his origin soul to burn. Looking at the mist, Wang Lin pondered for a bit and then crushed it. Although your cultivation has been forcibly increased, your understanding of your domain isn't enough. Ordinary people have a saying, to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. That is your fatal weakness. At the moment he crushed it, a muffled groan came from the void. Following that, Liu Mai's figure appeared in the distance. Her face was pale as she stared at Wang Lin. Her eyes filled with hatred and she hissed, you are indeed Wang Lin, someone with a ruthless heart. I'm not the who is ruthless, it's you. Wang Lin's eyes revealed bare killing intent. I focused my life on Dao, but you used the domain soul, the lust domain soul Wang Lin obtained from the giant demon clan ancestor, to break my virgin body. How do you explain this? Liu Mai's voice cracked. All the calmness from before disappeared and the hatred in her eyes became even stronger. Wang Lin frowned. This was a memory he didn't want to recall. His eyes became cold and he softly said, you were the first to act. Also, the matter with the domain soul was an accident. Accident? Liu Mai began to laugh. Her laugh grew louder until it was filled with vileness. She could keep her 10,000 Illusion Heavenly Devil Dao mentality before everyone. However, when it came to the person before her, she couldn't. You answered me saying it was an accident, then I'll give you another accident. There was a hint of complex pain inside her hatred. She touched her bag of holding. Wang Lin frowned. The celestial guard suddenly appeared before him and stepped toward Liu Mai. Liu Mai's right hand lifted from the bag of holding and the storage bag opened. A black mist rushed out from inside the bag and a monstrous resentment burst forth. This resentment was heaven shaking, and the sky darkened as if it covered by clouds. Large vortexes began to slowly rotate in the sky. The resentment was too powerful. As it spread out, the ghostly whales began to appear within 5 kilometers as if they were in the realm of ghosts. A burst of sharp shrills exploded from the black mist. The black mist was too fast even for divine sense to lock onto. It suddenly charged out past the celestial guard directly toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he stared at the black light. At the moment it closed in, he stabbed his finger forth like a sword and created a gust of wind. This wind blew away the black mist, revealing a pair of dark eyes. The moment Wang Lin's eyes fell on that pair of black eyes, he was startled. The eyes were completely cloudy, there was no light, only monstrous resentment. However, at the moment Wang Lin saw that pair of eyes, his mind shook and a feeling of harmony filled his body. It was as if 10,000 thunderclaps had exploded in Wang Lin's ears, causing his own body to tremble. He subconsciously withdrew his finger, took a few steps back, and stared at the black mist. This is. A terrible pain appeared inside Wang Lin's heart and immediately filled his body. He looked at the black mist, and his eyes suddenly turned red. He waved his right hand, causing the celestial guard to immediately return. It became a large shadow that surrounded the black mist, preventing it from doing anything. Wang Lin's face was filled with ferocity as he shouted at Liu Mai, "What is inside there?" Liu Mai revealed a smile, but her eyes were filled with pain. She then looked at Wang Lin with a wider smile. "You don't recognize it?" "No, with your cultivation, you should be able to recognize it. There is a legend among mortals. If a person loses several children, the souls of those children will not dissipate, they will always follow you and watch you. They will seem to be saying something, but you won't be able to hear. It won't be until the moment of your death that you finally hear them ask Daddy, 'Why don't you want me?'" Liu Mai's voice was a bit strange, there was even a trace of madness within. "I refined this child inside my body for a century until he finally became a resentful spirit. When he gained consciousness, I kept telling him that it was his father who abandoned him. His father is called Wang Lin. Wang Lin, you ruined my Dao heart, ruined my domain, and took my body. If all of that was an accident, then let me repay you with a special magical treasure." Wang Lin silently pondered, he was in complete silence. It was as if all the life in his body had been drained away and the only thing that remained was endless death. There was no shock like the tens of thousands of thunderclaps exploding in his mind when he found out that there was hope in reviving Li Muwen. There was no outburst of madness like when he faced Teng Huiyuan, one guy who killed his whole family and then killed Wang Lin. There was only extreme focus, like when he faced a crisis. Wang Lin only silently pondered. He was so silent that it was terrifying. It was as if the heavens had stopped, the earth had stopped. It was as if everything in the heavens and earth had froze due to the stop spell. Everything became silent. Looking at the black mist surrounded by the shadow created by the celestial guard, Wang Lin's eyes seemed to be able to pierce through, and he saw a weak figure. That powerful resentment wasn't able to stop Wang Lin's gaze. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin softly said, "Thank you." Liu Mai was startled as she stared at Wang Lin and snapped, "Wang Lin, does your heart not ache?" Wang Lin didn't even look at Liu Mai. He only looked at the figure inside the mist and softly said, "If you can refine him into a resentful spirit, then I can change him back even if it takes thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years. Thank you for returning him to me." All of this was completely outside of Liu Mai's expectations. She sneered and said, "He can't recover. To make him completely become a resentful spirit, I." Before Liu Mai finished speaking, Wang Lin softly said, "If I say it's possible, then it's possible." His gaze withdrew from the mist and fell on Liu Mai. His eyes were no longer calm but filled with unimaginable killing intent. Aside from Teng Huiyuan, Wang Lin had never felt so much killing intent toward someone. "Now it is your turn." Wang Lin's voice wasn't cold, but it made the surroundings suddenly seem to enter winter. He took a step forward and pressed down his right thumb. The underworld finger suddenly appeared. There was a loud bam in the sky as the underworld river appeared once more and fused with Wang Lin's finger. The underworld finger formed by the underworld river flew out and charged straight at Liu Mai. Liu Mai retreated. As she did so, she slapped her bag of holding and a large, old mirror appeared in her hand. This was a treasure that the Huan family's ancestor had gifted her, a low-quality celestial treasure. When the underworld finger fell on the mirror, it caused an earth-shattering explosion. At the same time, Wang Lin stepped forward and the seven-star sword formation surrounded Liu Mai. Wang Lin let out a shout and 7 rays of sword energy flew out. Wang Lin calmly said, "A fake late-stage ascendant cultivator with only celestial spiritual energy and no domain isn't even a match for a mid-stage ascendant cultivator." The finger of death appeared and closed in on Liu Mai along with the 7-star sword formation. The sword energy closed in, causing Liu Mai's expression to change greatly. Feeling a sense of crisis, she bit the tip of her tongue. Blood flew out of her mouth along with an object. It was a blade needle. The moment the needle appeared, It immediately circled Liu Mai and blocked the 7-star sword formation. Even the finger of death was pierced by this needle. The fourth soul. Wang Lin coldly looked at it, and his eyes became even colder. He raised his right hand and gently pointed at the needle. Stop. The black needle suddenly paused. As it struggled, Wang Lin took a step forward and arrived before Liu Mai. His right hand mercilessly pressed down between her eyebrows. Liu Mai let out a miserable groan and a large amount of black gas came out from between her eyebrows. Then she immediately retreated. Her eyes were filled with horror. Although Wang Lin's cultivation was only at the early stage of ascendant, his various spells and treasures were extremely shocking. You want to run? Wang Lin took another step forward, and his 2 fingers formed a sword. A part of the thunder in his origin soul condensed at the tip of his finger, ready to take this vicious woman's life. The shadow of death surrounded Liu Mai's body and mind, and her expression was deathly pale. Wang Lin's finger had injured her origin soul earlier. If it wasn't for the fact that she had a lot of celestial spiritual energy in her body, she probably would have died already. Liu Mai shrilled, "Leah." Wang Lin frowned and saw the black mist surrounded by the celestial guard begin to churn violently. It let out shrill cries that were like swords that charged toward Wang Lin and tore his heart. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a trace of sadness, but he stabbed forward without any hesitation. His finger rushed out like a bolt of lightning toward Liu Mai. Just at the moment of danger, Liu Mai's eyes were filled with despair, but a vortex suddenly appeared before her. This vortex was pitch black as if it was surrounded by clouds. A slightly withered arm came out from the vortex and casually pressed against Wang Lin's finger. With a loud bang, Wang Lin's body flew back like a meteor. His expression became pale and he coughed out a large mouthful of blood, but his eyes were filled with a monstrous cold light. Not dead. An ancient void came from the vortex. The withered arm grabbed Liu Mai and dragged her directly into the vortex. You save her and the Huan family will be wiped out. Wang Lin's voice was like the freezing winter wind as he stared at the vortex. He was clear that the only person who could rescue Liu Mai right now was the Huan family's ancestor. As he spoke, Wang Lin stepped forward and condensed Ling Tianho's sword energy without any hesitation. His finger pointed out like a flash of lightning and the sword energy charged directly at the vortex. Arrogant Junior, even though you have a yin and yang stage puppet, you are still no match for this old man. Seeing that you and Huan Mai have a past, this old man won't get involved in your grudge. However, if you continue to this, then this old man won't spare you, said the ancient voice in the vortex. He grabbed Liu Mai and completely entered the vortex. However, at that moment, Ling Tianho's sword energy had charged through the vortex directly toward the Huan family's ancestor on the other side. Ling Tianho's sword energy was peerless. The moment it appeared, sword energy filled the heavens and earth. It charged out like a bolt of lightning and entered the vortex. It chased after the Huan family's ancestor. The vortex immediately collapsed as the sword energy entered it, then the Huan family ancestor let out a muffled groan. At this moment, inside the Huan family's home in the faraway planet Thousand Illusion, the Huan family's ancestor was sitting in room with a huge vortex before him. The vortex seemed to turn solid and then shattered inch by inch. At the moment it completely shattered, a white light wrapped around Liu Mai and brought her back through the vortex. After entering the room, the light threw Liu Mai aside as it had no time to care about her right now. There was a trace of anxiety coming from the light as it quickly rushed back into the Huan family's ancestor's body. The Huan family's ancestor suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a hint of horror within them. Without any hesitation, he raised his right hand, mercilessly slammed it down on the vortex, and softly said, "Shatter." Earlier, his origin soul had left his body and used a spell to cross through space. At first he didn't care about Wang Lin at all. When he stopped Wang Lin's attack, he intended to take Wang Lin's life. However, when he stopped that finger, he clearly felt his power enter Wang Lin's origin soul, but it was destroyed. He could only hurt Wang Lin and not kill him. This surprised him, and at the next moment, he saw the celestial guard puppet. The puppet's yin and yang stage cultivation shocked the Huan family's ancestor greatly. He knew that he was in a very weakened state and that his cultivation had dropped to the yin and yang stage. Although he knew that he could win against the puppet, fighting it would cause his cultivation to drop once more. Also, Wang Lin's origin soul was obviously very strange, which made him worry. If his cultivation hadn't dropped, he wouldn't have worried at all and would have directly killed Wang Lin. Even so, he didn't take Wang Lin's cold words to heart. Even if Wang Lin had the celestial guard puppet, he also had his own backup. This was why he took Liu Mai and quickly left after leaving behind some vicious words. Liu Mai was someone who he had spent a lot of effort on. Aside from what he said to the public, there were also private reasons. He wouldn't allow anyone to kill her before she reached the second step. However, the Huan family's ancestor could have never guessed that Wang Lin would send out a ray of sword energy. At first, he didn't consider it a threat, but when it closed in, the sword energy actually caused the vortex his origin soul was in to collapse. This shocked his heart greatly and made him gasp. If it was merely the vortex shattering, it would have been fine, but the sword energy wasn't damaged at all, and it charged directly at his origin soul. The power of this sword energy made the Huan family's ancestor's scalp go numb. When he sensed its power, he vaguely felt the power of a nirvana cleanser cultivator. This terrifying aura made him feel aghast in his heart. He didn't dare to confront it and ran away in panic. He used the fastest speed an origin soul could use and brought Liu Mai back through the vortex. Then he immediately returned to his body and tried to break the vortex completely so that the sword energy would be trapped in the void. At this instant, the vortex completely collapsed into specks of dust. The Huan family's ancestor let out a breath of relief, but his expression immediately changed and he cursed in his heart. He suddenly got up, grabbed Liu Mai, and quickly retreated. A ray of golden light suddenly charged out of the vortex at the moment of its collapse. At the moment it appeared, countless rays of sword energy appeared in the secret room. An explosion that shocked the entire planet suddenly echoed across the land. The Huan family's secret room exploded from the pressure of the sword energy and created a shock wave. The shock wave collapsed the buildings in its path and kicked up a dust storm. The Huan family's ancestor charged out of the dust. He was in shock and in a sorry state as he grabbed Liu Mai and escaped. Damn it! How could that junior that knew Liu Mai have a ray of sword energy like this? What kind of crazy Nirvana cleanser senior would give sword energy like this to a junior in the first step? This is completely bullying, the Huan family's ancestor cursed in his heart. It wasn't that he couldn't withstand it, but he was in a weakened state and his cultivation had fallen. He was afraid his cultivation would become even more unstable if he tried to withstand that sword energy. After the secret chamber collapsed, the sword energy charged out and headed straight for the Huan family's ancestor. This sword energy contained Ling Tianho's tyrannical domain. At this moment, it was as if the entire heavens and earth were filled with this tyrannical aura. The sword energy grew more powerful, almost reaching the peak of its power. The moment the sword energy appeared, the entire world seemed to pause. This pause made it seem like time had completely stopped. The clouds changed and the wind rewinded. It created a rare scene where the clouds seemed like the receding tide. All of the powerful cultivators on planet Thousand Illusion felt this sword energy, and the sky suddenly darkened. The moment the sword energy appeared, the heavens and earth were filled with sword energy. The domain coming from the sword energy was simply too overbearing. It was as if every other spell in the world had to make way for it and couldn't steal its momentum. This kind of tyranny was the heaven's might. The sword energy flew across the sky in a ray of bright light. It transformed into the sharpest point in the world as it chased after the Huan family's ancestor. The sword energy was too fast. You could dodge, you could flee, but the domain on the sword energy would become even stronger. The tyrannical domain becomes stronger the weaker you are. The Huan family's ancestor's expression was gloomy as he threw Liu Mai backward. His hand formed a seal and there was a flash of white light. His Tao was the 10,000 illusion identitless Tao. It could also put everything in the world in an illusion, but in his hands, it was even more special. The white light shined brightly on his finger as his Tao intent increased like crazy. The Huan family's ancestor activated all the origin energy inside his body to gather in his finger and then mercilessly pointed forward. The burst of white light charged out and collided with Ling Tianho's sword energy. An earth-shattering explosion spread across planet Thousand Illusion. The white light dissipated and the sword energy charged out. It moved like lightning as it entered the Huan family's ancestor's body through his finger. The Huan family's ancestor's body trembled and his expression immediately became pale. The horror in his eyes became even stronger, and now he thought of what the junior had said before. You save her and the Huan family will be wiped out. Earlier, he completely ignored those words, but now they were like thunder exploding in his ears. If that person had this kind of sword energy, he didn't doubt that person's ability to wipe out his Huan family. What made him even more terrified was the thought of how many sword energies like this that person had. If that person has more than 6 rays of that sword energy, then unless I can recover my Nirvana Scrya cultivation, I'll definitely die. That is not the most terrifying part. What is truly terrifying is the owner of the sword energy. To be able to give this kind of sword energy to a junior like this means that they are very close. Maybe even a direct descendant. The Huan family's ancestor's scalp went numb. Even with his mental strength, he couldn't help but feel fear. Although he was the Huan family's ancestor and his cultivation had reached the Nirvana Scrya stage, that just meant that he was even more aware of the terror of a Nirvana cleanser. The second step of cultivation was very different from the first step. In the first step, if one had some heaven-defying treasures or powerful spells, it was possible to challenge someone with higher cultivation level. Although it was rare, it wasn't impossible. In fact, if the magical treasure or spell were used well, one could even directly kill someone with higher cultivation level. However, it was impossible for someone to beat someone else with higher cultivation level at the second step. Every single level was the difference between heaven and earth. No need to speak of the difference between Nirvana Scrya and Nirvana Cleanser. Just the difference between early stage and mid-stage Nirvana Scrya was already a gap that couldn't be crossed. Just the sword energy of a Nirvana Cleanser was able to make him dread so much, so one could see the difference. At this moment, the best choice was to hand over Liu Mai. The Huan family's ancestor looked at Liu Mai, who was filled with loss, and immediately gave up the idea. This person knew Liu Mai, so he must be from the Alliance star system. No matter how strong his master is, without an all-heaven stone, he can't enter this star system unless he has his own transfer array. However, even then, by the time his master gets here, this matter will no longer be between just me and him, it will be a war between 2 star systems. At that time, powerful experts from the Thunder Celestial Hall will come out. After all, once this old man's plan for Liu Mai succeeds, perhaps this old man's cultivation will have reached the Nirvana Cleanser stage too. If not, I should still be able to reach the peak of the late stage of Nirvana Scrya. After making up his mind, the Huan family's ancestor immediately spread out his divine sense across the entire planet. Old friend of the Qian family, Brother Shu, I have a request. On planet Ran Yune, Wang Lin stared at the collapsed vortex and withdrew his gaze. His gaze landed on the black mist surrounded by the celestial guard. Bursts of tender cries came out from inside the black mist. Every cry was like a sharp sword that stabbed into Wang Lin's heart. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a trace of pain as he looked at the black mist. Whenever the pair of cloudy eyes met Wang Lin's eyes, they would release thick resentment. This is my child. This is my direct descendant in this world. Wang Lin slowly walked into the shadow created by the celestial guard to surround the puppet. He had a hint of softness in his eyes. He hesitated a bit before raising his right hand and reaching into the mist. The resentful spirit didn't hesitate to bite down on Wang Lin's finger. The sharp teeth tore through his skin and the cold, resentful aura immediately entered Wang Lin's body through the wound. Wang Lin didn't withdraw his hand. His eyes were still gentle as he quietly looked at the child that was constantly sucking his blood. It will be all right. Your name is Li. Li is not a good word, so let's change it to Ping. From now on, your name will be Wang Ping. I hope your life will be calm and safe, unlike mine. This video will end here.